Early this morning, Space Shuttle Discovery launched from Cape Canaveral. It marks the beginning of the end for the most successful re-entry vehicle in space history. Only 3 more shuttle flights remain. Our shuttles are being mothballed. Is the U.S. becoming a third world country in space?
President Obama is turning America's back on the moon. Instead, he wants NASA to focus on the future. It has been nearly 40 years since the last moonwalk. Now, after spending more than $9 billion on plans to return to the moon, NASA is putting that dream back on the shelf. President Obama wants to boost NASA's budget, he says, but none of the money would go to a moon mission. Instead, he wants the money spent on developing new technology. So let's talk about it with that astronaut you saw bouncing around there, Gene Cernan, the final astronaut to walk on the moon. What do you think about the idea to cancel this moon program, the Orion program?
Well, yeah, I think I'm extremely disappointed, angry at a time or two. We talk about an investment in the future. He's taking that investment and put it on a shelf as far as I'm concerned. I don't care how people want to sugarcoat it. We are no longer a space exploration, a spacefaring nation. We are now put in a position of second place. And what we don't do today, I can promise you, someone else is going to do tomorrow. And I don't think the American people are going to like that.
Yeah, the Chinese are getting pretty aggressive with their efforts to get a manned moon mission underway, aren't they?
Well, I think they are. We hear they are, and I think we can expect almost anything. There's so many ramifications we're talking about $3 billion for a period in the next 5 years. We're talking about $100 billion to create jobs. Well, we're not only not creating jobs by taking that money away from NASA's Constellation program, we're removing the jobs that exist, and the jobs that could exist no longer are there. I just don't understand the logic behind it. At the end of this year, the space shuttle is to be retired. And we have a space station. It's the only game in town. It's a scientific laboratory that yet has to produce the results that I think a lot of people said it would.
And we're not going to have any way to get there.
To that. No, you know, we're going to have to ask the Russians and pay them a significant amount of money without any competitors to get us back up to a space station that essentially was built with our dollars. You know, we talk about the private sector. I support the private sector. It's going to be 10 years before we can put humans in a private spacecraft to get us back in the Earth orbit. And by that time, you know, the Russians and others are going to own the space station, do with it what they want. I think we've truly have relegated ourselves to almost a third world country in the world of space exploration.
Gene Cernan, the last man to walk on the moon. Good to talk to you. Thanks.
Hippity hoppity, hippity hopping over hill and dale. Da 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 da. Hippity hopping along.
Why return to the moon before journeying to other places in space? Lots of reasons. It's closer, and a good place to test space exploration tools before going on longer, more difficult trips. We can learn how it feels and how to adjust to living through long periods of time with less gravity, no atmosphere, and an extreme cold and heat. We can learn how to live off the land using natural resources we may find there. Once we return to the moon, then it's off to other places.
When you stare into space at night, will you rest any easier knowing that it's owned by the Russians and the Chinese? Carl Munkhausen for the NIP.